project for the course TDDD27, Advanced Web Programming. I've done an app to keep track of your scores for disc golf. Call it diSCore, haha. Yeah, I will just present the application here. So the first part is for the user to sign in. So I would just try here, and I try Daniel, and if I don't enter any password, it will tell me to enter the password, and then I can try to have the wrong password, tell me that it is the wrong password. But otherwise, if I type in the correct password, I will come into the application like this. And this is my friend, whose name is Daniel Don't Do Disc Golf. And he hasn't played any matches yet, so you can see here that there's no data to display on the progress and no matches to show. And this is not so fun. So we can log into someone who has played matches. For example, me. Just sign in here. And I have played some matches here at Ridskogen, Chetsäter, Folkparken. And you can see my progress here. It's not going so well. Started off -3. That's 3 throws under par, and ended up 10 throws over par. And as you can follow your progress here. And right here, you can see the name of the course that you've played. You can see how many throws and how it relates to the par of the course. And here to the right, you can see the matches of all players and which date. So my wife here has played at the course Lugnet. I played at Folkparken. My friend Elias here, the 20th of May, played at Chetsäter, 3 over par. And all the matches played by some user on this app will end up here. And yes, you can add a new round. If you've been out playing, click here, pop-up comes up here, and you can see all the available courses up here. Right now, you are not able to add any new courses or any new players. The only thing you can add is a match. So you can click here to enter the name of the course to add it, and the number of throws. So I played Ridskogen, par 56, so I just 60 throws. And I can add it, and Ridskogen comes up here, and the graph updates as well. So a little bit better right now. But if I try here to add a new round, and I enter a name, or I misspell it, like Ridskogen, then it says here course is not in the database, and I'm not able to add it. But if I add the G there, it says, yeah, add. So it's a little control. You can close that one, and yes, that's about what you can do with my app right now. Yes. Another thing that I would like to show is that my app is responsive, which means that you can do like this. If you have it in a desktop window like this, you would have a layout so you can see everything. But if you have it on a cell phone like this, it will minimize down to this. Then you have to scroll down here, and you have the graph in the bottom here. Because you would like to add your matches as well when you're out on the course, and the chances that you are using this app on a cell phone is pretty big. So this was an important thing for me. So no matter the size of the window, everything is responsive and will change according to it as well. I'm gonna try to explain my code now. I have it's divided in two parts: client part, which represents the front end, and a server part, which represents the back end. The client part don't really talk to the database. It's everything that's visible, and the server part is the one that talks to the database. So if we want to send a request to the database, we have to, from the client, send a request to the server, which sends a request to the database. Yeah, but we take a look at the client first. It's divided in some different folders here, as we can see. Every folder here represents a component in the app, with some few exceptions here. For like models, they represents the different data types in the application, and the data types that is used is course model, post model, and user model. And the data types is really good to use because you can send, if it's data that is like grouped in a similar way, it's really nice to have these models and send it in like packages instead of just a load of data. And that's very appropriate. And then there's a difference between a few of these components. The login and the home, they are two pages, two separate pages, whilst like graph and add post are pop-ups or part of a page. I can start off to show the show post component maybe. Every component here is divided in 4 parts. It's the HTML part, which lays a structure for all the elements, a CSS file which styles the component, a TS file, TypeScript file, which lays the ground for the functionality, and a service part which talks to the backend part. If we take a look here at the HTML, you can see that I use a lot of these here, ng4, ngif. Very useful thing that I've learned with Angular is these structural directives that you can like form the DOM structure of the page. And for like here, if a player don't have any posts, it just checks here if a user has any posts, and if it doesn't have it, it just displays this message for the user instead of going into all this code right here. So it just goes into the component here and run this function. And it's a very useful thing that I have used a lot. And same here to see what present for the user. So for example, if on a post here, the par is below 0, then it displays this message. If it's the par is the same as it's equal to 0, then it displays this one. So it's really nice to like manipulate how the page looks. Otherwise, we have another example here is for the graph, which I have tried to. I wanted to like see how easy it is to import something that is partially done, and this is very easy code here. I tried something that called fusion charts. It's just tiny bit of HTML code, and then the other things you do in here in the graph component. and you can just set your own parameters and how big you want it to be and what type of graph you want, and yeah, the caption. And here you just insert your data. And this was really, it was kind of easy to implement at some part, but it was really good to like try to understand data and try to understand how the data is presented from the database. So it was easy to like implement all the visual things, but hard to get the data really in a good way to present it good. Okay, so I'm done with the client here. Let's just take a look at the server instead. Same as with the front end, you declare your data types here, course post user, and I use Mongoose to talk with the database, and Mongoose is something to call schemas. Really nice to work with. Same thing here, you package it up to make it easier to work with and to send data to different documents. So the documents in the database are formed in a certain way. Otherwise, basically the whole backend is our file app.js. And as I said, I work with Mongoose to connect with the database. And we can go through, we can take get all courses here, for instance. First, we just connect to the database. And then there are some different, I use a post request here to send the data. Here I want to find every courses, so I leave the query field blank, and I want to sort the name in descending order. So I will receive all data in descending order after the name, and send a status which says success. Otherwise, if you like want to get, I have here also a request which is get course, and it's if you want to get one course. And here instead, I don't have a blank search field. I have here that the name should be the same as my request's name. And if I have, there is a document which matches my request, then I get it back here. And if the length of the document, which means that I have one search hit, then I should return it with the data doc and success. Otherwise, the course is not in the database. I guess that is it. As I said when I explained my app, I wanted to, you are not able to create your own courses or users, but I did the functionality to do it. So in further work, I can just implement it, but I didn't have the time to do it now. So, but it's here. See if I manage to do it this summer, because I really like this project. Okay, so we move on to the database. It's a MongoDB collection with 3 different data types: course, post, user. Right now, the posts can be added from the application, as I said, but the courses and the users I have to add manually here. But yeah, as you can see, it's pretty straightforward. It says the name, the title, the description, the date here for the post, and the par for the course, the date of the match. And here for the user, this is something that I wanted to do, but I didn't have the time. Right now, the password is not encrypted, which is pretty bad, but I would, yeah, this is also a further work for me, because it's the only thing that I wanted to having encrypted, and it's something that I wanted to do, but I didn't have the time to do it. So yeah, but I'm pretty satisfied with my work. Some things that I found really hard or challenging was to like connect the application with a database through Mongoose. It was really hard. Like I've never worked with NoSQL databases, or I have very little experience with databases overall. And the different versions of like Angular and Mongoose and Node did it really hard, and I struggled a lot with it. But when I thought of not using Mongoose instead because I had so much trouble with it. But then when I got it to work with all the schemas and everything, I'm really happy, and it was really easy to work with when you got it set up. I really had a hard time like understanding what the point with Angular was, with like instead of using regular HTML and JavaScript. But like when we use the ng model forms and stuff like that to make the content more dynamic and stuff like that, then I really understand it, and to work with the components in a good way. I really understand it in the end, so I've learned a bunch, and like to understand observers and that code isn't always run from top down, and like to grasp how to get around it and to think in another way was really hard for me in the beginning. But when I got a grasp of it, it all made sense. And if I had to understand that when I started, it would be a whole lot easier. But I'm not sure I'm proud of all my solutions in the code, but I guess that's the goal of the course, to like do mistakes, learn something, and then when you're done with your project, you see what faults and what flaws your application had in the beginning, and I feel that that's exactly what I've done.